Welcome to today's partner education event, exploring the participant experience. We are so excited to uncover for you today what mentorship is really like for your program participants. So let's go ahead. We have tons of stuff to talk about today, so let's go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping notes to kick us off. This webinar is being recorded, and some additional educational resources, including that recording, will come to you in a follow-up email. You can also always find the recordings of our previous partner education webinars in our Partner Knowledge Center, which is help.mentorcollective.org. On the screen, you'll see a few tips to help ensure a smooth virtual experience for you today. You might want to adjust your video layout to speaker view, which allows you to see both the slide deck and also the presenter faces as we're bopping back and forth. We'd also love to know where everyone is joining from. I see some familiar names and faces and also some new friends. So feel free to share your name, your institution, your LinkedIn if you feel comfortable in the chat, so we can all get to know each other. Throughout the session, you can also always drop your questions in the chat, or you could use the Q&A feature. We'll also have some time at the end of the session for a live Q&A if you'd like to come off mute and ask your question live. And of course, if you know me, I love energy. I love emojis. So we also really encourage you to use the reactions feature to keep things bopping throughout the session, just to keep things fun. So tell us how you're feeling while we're presenting. Let us know what you think about a feature, or send us your questions in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So in today's session, we will explore many aspects of the participant experience of mentorship, so both your mentors and your mentees. By the end of today's session, you're going to learn how an overview of how mentorship works for the participant. My colleague Alyssa, who I'll introduce in just a sec, will walk us through the participant dashboard to explore how students experience mentorship firsthand. You'll also learn how mentees connect with their mentors in different ways through the platform. And finally, you'll consider ways to optimize the participant experience to create the most meaningful mentorship connections that you can. There's really so much involved in the participant experience, really from matching and communications to training and ongoing support. And we want to be sure that we're dedicating the time and the space really to showcasing every aspect. And again, there's so much, right? So today you can expect us to get into the weeds with messaging, with matching and rematching, with goals, conversation logs, and that community feature, the testimonials. But we will hold a second edition of this webinar in April, and I'll drop the link to sign up for that in the chat in just a sec. And that second edition in April will explore topics that we might not get a chance to dive too deeply into today, such as mentor training, supplemental resources, and also assessment, I believe. So you'll get everything you need today to start you off, and then a part two coming up in April. Again, with Alyssa, and we're so excited to have you at both sessions, Alyssa, to bring us through all aspects of the participant experience. So, and then as a reminder, one more time, you will get access to that recording from today's event and follow-up messaging. So you can click into that follow-up message, go back if you need to go back and find links as well to additional articles, templates, additional how-to, shorter demo videos and articles that will take you through things step by step if you want a little bit more detail on any of the topics. All right. So I'm Jen Caius. I'm Mentor Collective's Customer Education Manager. And if you've seen me before at these events, I create education opportunities that support building strong mentorship initiatives that try to drive impact at your institutions. And I've worn a few different hats here at Mentor Collective, all centered around creating the best possible experience for you and for your mentorship initiative participants. And I started my Mentor Collective journey by creating our on-demand training product, as well as working with the product and partner success teams to develop some of the features that we'll be talking about today. So on the partner side, in my new hat, I work to blend both our product and our on-the-ground strategies in a more holistic approach to building mentorship. Hopefully I can give you some insight and color there on how to use the features that you see and that your participants use in ways to make the most impact. And I'll also be joined by my incredible colleague today, Alyssa Zink. Alyssa, I'm going to pass you the proverbial mic so that you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Jen. My name is Alyssa, as Jen mentioned. I work with a lot of our partners throughout the country as a partner success manager. I've seen a few of my partners here today introducing themselves in the chat, so hello to you. But I work to help with the day-to-day operations, helping strategize and design programs, implementing them at your universities and colleges, and helping answer any questions that may come up. And a lot of this webinar is inspired by the conversations I've been having with my partners, questions they have in ways that they want to make sure that they are supporting their students the best way possible. And so we've tried to weave as much of that into our presentation and demo today so that we can really equip you with as much information as possible. I've been with Mentor Collective now coming up on 2 years this summer, and I've been in this role the entire time, loving every minute. So having a great time and looking forward to dive in a little deeper today.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. I see those emojis rolling. I'm very happy about that. All right, so let's get started with a mentorship overview. If you take a look at the wheel on my screen, this might be familiar to you if you've attended some of our education events over the past few months. This is the culture of mentorship wheel. So there are 6 elements in this wheel that promote an institution-wide culture of mentorship. And for the sake of today's conversation, we're actually going to focus on the participant-centered approach to your mentorship initiative. Although every element is important, that participant-centered approach is really what's driving the mindset behind the key product features that are in the participant experience in the Mentor Collective platform. So, for example, messaging and matching might take into account identity conscious or inclusive practices. Maybe that's copy that reflects different voices and experiences, or identity based matching options in the matching survey. Another example might be encouraging participants to be goal based in their mentorship intentions. Mentees, they want to grow and achieve their personal and professional goals, but mentors also want to feel their guidance has made some kind of an impact, right? A meaningful impact. So, when both sides are aligned around clear shared objectives, the mentorship experience becomes more rewarding and productive for everyone. Everyone gets more out of it, leading to more engaged participants, easier recruitment in subsequent years. And all of that's really kept in mind with these participant features, whether it's the ability to make flags, which Alyssa will talk about in just a bit, and for mentors to see the result of those flags, to know they made a difference, or for mentees to be able to select a goal and have curriculum that follows them in pursuing that goal. So I'll also drop a link to all 6 elements of the culture of mentorship if you'd like to take a deep dive on that. We also, I have to add this pitch. We also are having a webinar tomorrow on all 6 elements of the culture of mentorship. We'd love for you to join us there as well. Okay, so Alyssa, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Actually, if you wanted to share just a quick, explanation of our participant journey, and here it is. So I'll pass it over to you.
Perfect. So some of you may be familiar. We have a similar graphic when we're looking at what the partner experience is and the goals and the outlined experience that we see with partners and how we implement programs and how you can use that to inform future strategy on campus. But we wanted to make sure that we had a version that reflected the participant experience as well, showing each step that your students are going through and what we hope some of those outcomes will look like to the participants. So if we start at the left, you'll see we begin by recruiting and receiving those invitations, making sure students are aware of the program, bringing awareness to that, and just getting them on board. That from there, they will follow those invitations by registering into the program. Both mentors and mentees will complete that matching survey that's going to collect as much information as we can about their identities, about what's important to them, their goals, what they're hoping to get out of the mentorship, and hopefully finding the best match possible based on those responses. We then have mentors that go through their comprehensive on-demand training in their account. So each mentor will receive advice on the best ways to approach mentorship, how to navigate our platform, and all the tips and tricks that they'll need in order to be successful in mentorship. And then after those have been completed, the students are then matched together. So once a pair has been made, students are able to refer campus resources or use resource articles we have on the platform in order to help navigate the conversations, questions, and advice that those mentees need. And hopefully pulling from that training, and they're able to kind of draw on that knowledge in order to help support that further. They'll then continue logging conversations. They'll submit flags or raise flags in moments where they think maybe some additional support is needed. And then the ultimate goal at the end is building community and that sense of belonging for your students, where they feel a connection and have really established both mentorship and maybe some friendship or just community in general. So a really impactful, powerful experience. And we want to make sure that students are obviously getting the most out of these programs. And we'll kind of outline what that experience looks like a little more today. Great. So starting, we have a couple of points in the experience that we want to highlight before we dive into the dashboard. We'll begin with messaging, and this is pulling back to that phase of receiving invitations. Now, one thing I do want to call out, these are of course screen grabs from what they receive from the Mentor Collective side. However, it is absolutely the best participant experience that they hear from the institution first. It builds credibility with the platform. It creates a little bit of recognition so that when they see the name Mentor Collective come across their plate, they know and expect to be receiving this information. So with messaging, we definitely see better opt-in rates and more engaged students when we are getting an invitation out at the institution level, and then the Mentor Collective messaging can follow that up immediately. Additionally, we do see much higher opt-in rates when we are able to provide phone numbers. We understand, of course, there are some limitations at institutions, but where we can reach students, and we know students are on their phones a lot, it can be really easy to just follow a link that's in a text message in the computer that lives in their hand 24/7. Of course, emails are still very powerful, and there's a lot of communication that's going there, but just want to kind of give an overview of what that looks like when it's coming from us. We usually only have the institution send out one invitation. We don't need them to send out a bunch of follow-up, but we then will continue with our messaging. Our campaigns usually will go for about anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks. And that's only 1 or 2 messages a week. So we're trying not to overwhelm them, but making sure that they're aware. And if the first message comes at a time when maybe they've got a lot going on, they don't just forget and then never engage with the program. So it's also, of course, very dynamic in the sense that if a student does follow the link and takes the action of registering, it knows not to continue sending the rest of those invitation messages and keep hounding them with that, and will transition the messaging over to whatever the next step in their journey is. Great. So when we have students who do follow that link in order to get registered, they'll be brought to one of these 2 screens. And so you'll see we have 2 different types of logins. And the difference here is whether you have the single sign-on activated, meaning students can use their institutional credentials in order to create an account and get signed up, or if they're going to just create an account with the Mentor Collective platform. If they're using the university ID, they can just continue with that, sign in with the same sign-in they're using for everything else, and then that will tie them to the program. If we're not using that single sign-on, we will have the fields here on the right where you'll fill out some information about your email, name, create a password so that you actually have an account that you can access with the program. And so here is where those students would go in order to get signed up for the program. And then similarly, then when they return to log in and access the dashboard in the future, if you have that single sign-on SSO set up, they would again just use that credential button, or they would use their account that they've created with Mentor Collective. Great. And so I believe at this point now we can go ahead and dive into the dashboard.
Awesome.
I will take over screen share. Thank you, Jen. Okay. Let me make sure I've got the right page. Okay. This all look good for everyone?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So obviously this account here is a pre-existing demo account that has already been matched. So I just want to call out, when your students first sign up, they are not going to have other student names here yet, or anything under the My Mentees bucket. They would just come in and immediately have this mentorship checklist. This checklist is where they are going to access a lot of the required items that they are going to need to do in order to have a successful mentorship. And so where we would naturally usually start, your students upon registration, we automatically take them to the matching survey after they register, just to try to capture as many responses as possible straight out of the gate. We find that I think over 80% of our students are usually completing that matching survey at the same time as they're registering. And so by making that a seamless process, we can try to get as many students through that flow as possible. Obviously, some students may need to drop off for whatever reason. And so if they do not complete that matching survey at that time, then this task will remain unchecked in their checklist. And so they can return and complete that matching survey. And that's helpful for you to know if you have a list of students that you're trying to encourage participation, and you can see that they registered in your partner dashboard, but for whatever reason, they didn't complete the matching survey. You can just point them to this checklist and say, hey, we saw you registered and had interest. This should only take you about 5 minutes. And so they can just click in, complete that, and then you have a student who's ready to be matched. Of course, this test account has already taken it. So by clicking on it again, it's now offering for me to retake the matching survey. This is not typically something that we are encouraging students to do within the same academic year. But if you have a mentor who was participating their sophomore year, and then they return for their junior year to be a mentor again, but maybe some of these answers have changed for them, they can come in and retake that matching survey and update that information at any time. This, again, is just a sample matching survey. You're all familiar and all have your own matching surveys set up with your programs. But that is where you would complete that. And then also, this is where you will find the required mentor training. That's going to live in this checklist as well. And we do call out how important it is. So you can, again, direct your students right to that task, and they can go complete that if in the mentor side in order to be matched. One other thing that we do like to call out is that this training is available even after you have completed it. So it's not that, mentors are taking a training and then they never have access to those resources or tips again. They can dive in and go back or refer back to anything that was covered in training at a later date. And I know that is part of our part 2, where we're really going to dive into the training, talk about what it covers, what it looks like, all of that. So definitely make sure you're joining us if you are curious about that piece. The one other piece then that comes after these tasks are complete is the matching process. So first, what I want to share is how that matching is established and communicated. So our students are receiving notification, of course, that they have been matched with someone once we've found that best fit based on their responses to the matching survey. We, of course, are going to send them a text message notification if they have provided us a phone number in their account. And then also, of course, send them an email, just giving them a heads up that they have been matched and who that is. And we prompt them at that time to check in their dashboard as well for more information. But what's also established is that SMS relay. What we like to compare that to is like when you are put in contact with an Uber driver. If you need to call them because something's going on, you're not calling that Uber driver's actual personal phone number. You're getting set up with this kind of in-between number where you can both communicate, but we're not sharing personal information. So on the right, you'll see what that message kind of looks like from Mentor Collective, acknowledging that they're signing up and that they've been matched and who their match is, but then they can actually just reply directly to that message they've received. And that's going to establish an SMS communication where they can communicate securely without having to exchange personal information. Now, our default sharing settings within our platform would also provide that information in the dashboard. So if the students have uploaded their phone number or added their email to their profile, that would typically be shared with their counterpart in the dashboard. But that can also be customized or changed if you have different needs at your institution, and you can discuss that with your partner success manager as you're program planning. But what the SMS relay does is it allows everyone to kind of have that point of contact, keep things kind of communicating, and that also reflects in your dashboard where you can see those peer-to-peer text messages and get an idea of how often those are being exchanged. Great. So now that we've established contact, I have found out that I have some mentees. We are, of course, in a mentor dashboard right now, but your mentee dashboard will look primarily the same. They would just say, my mentors here, and it would have their one mentor listed. So you have your two accounts. I've been matched with two mentees, and I want to navigate to their information. So I'm going to check on Ronnie's account. You can click right in there and you get a lot of information right away, which is great. So this is where that contact information would be shared. We see here only an email has been shared, and then it also calls out how often Ronnie would like to be in touch with the mentor, which is something we capture on that matching survey as well. So the mentor can kind of have this information and keep that in mind when they're doing their outreach. So the first thing we like to call out is where they would log a conversation. So they're able to click in here on each of their individual mentees would have this button separately. But we can kind of navigate through what that logging the conversation process looks like, and then also how that translates to submitting a flag, since those are part of the same process. Okay. So I'm going to log a conversation now with my mentee, Ronnie. There's going to be a few questions they ask, but it's pretty high level. We want the students to feel confident and trust that, if sensitive information is shared between or sensitive topics are discussed, we don't need the exact details and all the information they're discussing about. We want them to be able to form that natural connection. However, we do like to capture a few things just to get an idea of what those conversations are looking like. So first, we're going to confirm how these conversations have been happening, which can be some really good insight just to what your students tend to prefer or maybe how they're connecting best. And so we'll ask what those various means may be. And then we'll also ask about general topics that they are discussing, just again, to get an idea of what they're discussing and how those conversations are going. This also is really great information because this is going to provide you an opportunity in your dashboard to see what those conversation trends look like, if there's any seasonality to these certain topics, or if there are, gaps in resources maybe that are coming up. If a lot of students have a question and they're talking about careers a lot, okay, what does this tell us about our program, and do we need to make any adjustments there? But this can allow you that opportunity, provide follow-up or do some outreach with your mentors if they are having more questions about certain topics than others. But there's a lot of really great opportunities for you to see that information as well. And then here is where the flag section is covered. So again, these mentors have gone through training, so they are familiar that this is kind of part of the questions they're going to be asked. And so it asks directly if the mentee has expressed concerns about any of these following topics. So what they can do is, okay, yeah, financial concerns did come up, and that's going to open up some follow-up questions. So here's where they can provide some of that context and some details. If there's something, if it's scholarship related or, loans or FAFSA or whatever that is, they can give some info. And then also we ask them if they're going to need some immediate support from the institution. And they can say, yes, I think someone should follow up, or no, just kind of putting it on your radar. They go through, again, in the training, some ideas of what constitutes immediate support needed, food insecurity or the ability to, access housing. That's of course an immediate support priority. But if it's something of just not liking the food in the dining hall, maybe that's not as immediate support and more of just something on their radar. But that is what this process kind of looks like as far as conveying that information, and making sure everyone's aware. And then we do also have a couple of follow-up questions, just asking how things are going, if they're enjoying their experience, or if they have any reflections on the conversations and interactions that they've been having. And so I will not actually submit this conversation for Ronnie at this time, but that is where you can find that. Um,
Alyssa, can I interrupt really
yeah,
quick? I have a quick
please
question I know
do.
we got in the chat. The other box, can you go back to that conversation log real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Where we go. Yeah, where it says other, is there an opportunity to expand on that there, or is there another place that they could do that?
So yes, when you select not on the methods of communication, but yes, on general topics, if it's other, it's still going to prompt them to expand on that or share what that may be, and that's visible in your dashboard. And then I believe same here on the flags. If you select other, that is going to open up the opportunity for follow-up questions. Yes. So on the flag side, if you say none, then it's not going to open up follow-up. Um, and here, you know, we'll always want to gather what topics they talked about, but other is the only one that would open up a box for further.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Yes. Um, okay. One other thing I want to call out about those flags is where that lives on this sidebar. You see that the mentors have a section called flags. Your mentees, first of all, will not have this on their dashboard because when a flag is submitted, it's not reflected on the mentee side. The mentee won't know unless the mentor tells them that they're going to submit a flag just about this topic. However, your mentors can see where their flags lie. Some of you, if you have been working on a program before, you're familiar with what this looks like. And you know that in the partner dashboard, we have that internal notes section. You'll see on the mentor side, that part's not visible. This is just a reminder of what they submitted and when and about which mentee. And then also they do see what stage it's at. So if you move those through the funnel as, actionable, non-actionable, resolved, they'll see that a flag has been moved into one of those buckets, but they won't see the internal notes you're saving. And there's not any kind of expected follow-up. It's more so just for their information and they can see that. But again, no notes or anything. And then there's, of course, what is this? So that they have an idea of kind of what they're looking at here. Great. And then the other piece of kind of conversing with your individual is also the ability, if they're mentioning that they're not able to get in touch. This is a very common phenomenon, and sometimes people just aren't as responsive or didn't see a message the first time. So we have recently, within the last year, built out a flow in their dashboards that allows them to really have that empowered control of their partnership. So if you've been trying to get in contact with your mentee or mentor, both sides have this, they can say, I can't get in touch. And then, of course, we're going to acknowledge that. It lets them have that control over their experience, and they can let us know how we can help. So we offer a few different solutions here as to what they maybe need support with. And depending on what they select, it'll offer a little follow-up. So in this case, if it's been 6 months and I've never heard back, but I still want to be matched with some others. I still feel like I have support to give. I can say unmatch me and find me a new mentee, and it'll actually offer up any special requests about finding a new mentee, and I can give some input there. If they're just kind of, I don't know how to reach out, it'll verify their information and make sure that all of this is accurate. Or if they need to flag that they need help from someone at the university, it'll provide us with that point of contact information that you've provided us so they know who to reach out to. So there's a lot of different options they can take here and kind of navigate through that process on their own. Okay. And then the other section, what you'll notice here is we also scroll down and we were mentioning goals and the kind of making sure that these students are feeling supported and it's a very participant-centered experience that they're having. The goals is a question that your mentees are answering on that matching survey, what their, top goal is out of the program. And then our system will hand select some of the related resources that we have as it relates to those goals, both for your mentor and your mentee. So on the mentees dashboard, these articles will actually get suggested on their homepage, since it says, you indicated this was your top goal. Might we suggest some resources? And then also it allows the mentor to kind of have some things at the ready to discuss that top goal that their mentee has. I also just want to show as well, you'll see the about section. This is going to call out some of the responses that they had in their matching survey that may be relevant for their mentor. So they can see some of the hobbies or life experiences or interests that they have, and maybe they can start a conversation based on some of these details. In that matching survey, again, we're reminding students throughout that this is for the purpose of finding the best match mentor for them. So they know that this information may be shared between the pair. So it's all self-reported. It's not, sensitive information they wouldn't want shared, because they have the choice whether or not they're selecting these responses, and they know it'll be shared with their mentor. But this is just a good starting point to get some ideas about what your mentor or mentee likes and who they are as a person and what you may be able to connect over. And then again, there's just the communication section where you can see any flags or conversations that have been reported throughout the history of the relationship. Great. And then where that brings us, I would say we could pivot over to our resources section, which is another area we'll see here on the bar. We've seen what some of those look like as it relates to the goals, but I also just want to call out that we have a full library here of different topics that we address that can also be filtered. So students are able to, search, they want to talk about food. We don't have any food resources in here today, but say I want to talk about my picking a major. Okay, great. I've got an article here. I want to filter and just find a topic that's relevant. Okay, yeah, professional skills. I've been thinking about that. And I can see a few different things here. So these are both available to your mentors and mentees. They can navigate these. And I want to remind everyone that we can upload custom resources here. So if that is something that your mind is already spinning and you're thinking of different things you want to make your students aware of that are specific to your campus, talk with your partner success manager and they would be happy to help get these uploaded. It's a very easy process. So definitely something we would recommend and can help personalize your dashboard. I've had some partners who upload information on advisors or information on an event that's going on. So there's a lot of different things you could put in here that would maybe be a help to your students. Okay. And then I will dive back into this mentorship checklist just because I want to call out one other thing. And that is that this is where your surveys live, that start of program survey, mid program survey, end of program survey. We get a lot of students, and I think it kind of is the season right now. A lot of you are probably launching end of program surveys in the next couple of weeks. We get a lot of requests. They're like, oh, can you share the link to the survey with me so I can send it to my students and have them take it? But that survey lives within their individual account. So each person would have a different unique URL. So what we usually recommend, again, is mentioning to them that it's going to live in their mentorship checklist, and you can share the link to the login page and then just direct them to where the survey is. So they'll be able to click in there and then go through and complete those questions, just ranking all the different kind of success factors that we measure throughout the year. And then one other checklist task that I like to call out is this one highlighting share a video or quote telling us about your mentorship so far, which pivots nicely to that community page that Jen mentioned earlier, where we are collecting some testimonials, we're collecting insights from other students. So it's a way for them to get an idea of who else is interacting with this program, see from other students at the institution, and get an idea of kind of everyone's different experiences that they do have. And then it also lets them see just at a glance who's participating in this program. You can see how many students are matched with mentors. You can see kind of the breakdown. We know obviously texting is going to be most common, but maybe you see, oh, wow, quite a few people are actually talking on the phone. Maybe I'll call my mentor next time. So you can see a lot of different information and also the kind of trending topics. What's most common with everyone? What is everyone else talking about? Oh, maybe I should get some ideas. Oh, my peers are talking about career more. Maybe that's something I should bring up with my mentor. Um, so there's a lot of good information that kind of just ties in the importance and the community that we're trying to build on campus.
Can I pop in there, Alyssa, with
Yeah,
just an add real quick?
absolutely.
I did just drop this in the chat with some additional content on that community page. I think this is such a great resource for folks to see firsthand how their participants are experiencing mentorship. So, yes, you can see the conversation logs and the flag reports and all of that data, how they're engaging, but this is where you can get their stories. So as folks submit maybe videos or text based accounts, and again, this is a demo account, so your specific program might have many more than this, but you can take those stories and you can download them, copy and paste them, and then elevate those stories across your institution. So if you're coming up for renewal this spring and you're trying to demonstrate the impact of your program, it might be a great way to humanize the program beyond just the numbers by sharing these testimonials across your institution with other stakeholders who maybe are going to contribute to funding or more resources for your program, or maybe are even considering building a mentorship program of their own, right? So it's a great way to get their face, their voice, and hear firsthand the impact. I've also cleverly seen a couple universities use these testimonials for recruitment purposes. So when considering how to market in the student voice, how to maybe use these stories to attract other students who might be more interested in hearing from their peers. So it's a great resource overall. The participants see this and they can hear from folks in their community, but you can also see their stories captured on your partner dashboard. So wanted to call that out. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks, Jim. I think that's a great chime in. Um, Great. And then the one other thing I do want to call out here as well on the checklist, this is again something you can discuss a little further with your partner success manager, but we can actually add in custom tasks if that is something that you're wanting to bring to your students. So obviously we mentioned custom resources. I think the difference between what those two things would be is a checklist, thinking of something that you actually want your students to do and check off that could live here. Maybe you want them to review an additional resource or review something about expectations. I've seen a lot of different partners utilize it that way. Whereas a resource would maybe be more the orientation booklet, just so they have it for reference. So there's different things we can do, but you can absolutely add in a custom resource to the checklist if that's something you've thought of. Great. And then one other thing I did want to call out, oh my goodness, I almost missed this, but this is for my partners who are using paid mentors who have a large volume of mentees, or if you have, super mentors, which is that kind of lower touch but larger volume, maybe up to 10 mentees. We do have, I want to call out this button here, that download contact information. This can be really helpful for some of those larger volume mentors because this will actually export a spreadsheet with their names, their contact information, and a little bit of info about them in case they need to, for whatever reason, have that in an easier to reach spot, or if they need to track other information about them outside of just logging conversations. So I just wanted to call that out because I know I have a few partners of mine who have program structures like that could benefit, but your mentors do have this on their page. And then lastly, I just want to call out a couple of other features. If you have any returning students who are participating year over year, or if you're one of our partners who uses career and peer programs together, so you may have students who've created multiple accounts, but all within their same institutional credentials, you can navigate and switch programs. You can all do this on your dashboard as well, but just a reminder for your students that they can switch between, if they want their peer program here and then their career program here, and they just want to be able to toggle between the two, or if there is like, year to year and you have a little bit of overlap at the end of the year, they can navigate between the two programs this way. So if you ever have a student who comes to you and for whatever reason they can only access last year's program, have them try this and see if that can help them get on the right page. But if not, we are also always happy to help, and your students can ask for help because we do have this help button at the bottom here where they can provide us their email address, tell us whatever they need, attach anything that would be relevant, if that's screenshots or a file they need, and that'll get it submitted directly to our partner support team, who will try to get back to them. I think industry standard is within about 8 business hours, and our team tries to be faster than that. So that is also there for them. And we do get a lot of those requests. A lot of savvy students know how to navigate that. But if they ever come to you with odd requests that you aren't sure are relevant to you or maybe more platform based, they can definitely submit some help through that button as well.
Alyssa, can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
We had a question in the chat to change the dashboard so that folks, I assume by we partners, right? So for partners to see different dashboards, can you show us just one more time how
Yeah.
folks would toggle to do that?
Yep. So this, it obviously your dashboard looks a little different, but you should have the same kind of your account symbol in the top right corner of your accounts with the caret here that creates a drop down menu. And then where it says switch program, if you have multiple years, those will be listed out here, and they should have the year in the name so you can know which one you're clicking to. Um, or if they're different program types, career and a peer program, those names should both be listed under kind of this switch program. And you'd have any program that's associated with your institution that you have access to. So that should be right there on your accounts. And if not, definitely let your partner success manager know and they can help with that. Great. Okay, so I think that was everything that I was planning to cover in that dashboard demo. So I will stop sharing my screen and hand it back to you, Jen.
A couple quick questions that we're getting here in the chat, so I want to answer those before we dive into the what's next, Alyssa, if that's all right with you.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
the first question that we have here is, will the messages, so text and email, will they always say Mentor Collective, or will they say the institution's name? Yeah, do you want to take that away?
Yep. So the email messaging, anything where you saw a Mentor Collective logo, we typically have your logo uploaded next to it, and we want that program to be seen as yours, right? And that's also why we encourage that initial email to go out from the institution, because it is your program. We are just the platform that you host it through. So most of our communication will have a logo. If a Mentor Collective logo is there, it should have your logo next to it. In text messages, we aren't usually sending logos, but the name of the program would have your institution's name in it. And so it would say kind of that full institution name, Mentor Collective program, or if you, whatever name you have decided for your program, that is communicated in the communication. So we try to make sure that we are presenting that as your program first.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, I'm so grateful for your time, and I'll see you down the road. So thank you. Thanks, Alyssa.